They were not just ordinary followers, they were the very core of Jesus' inner circle, men who experienced miracles firsthand and carried a message of hope and transformation. Yet, behind the inspiring stories and teachings lies a shadow of brutal destinies that have been all too often overlooked. Today, we peel back the layers of history to reveal the shocking, grim fates that befell every single one of these devoted men. Their unwavering loyalty to Jesus led them down paths marked by relentless persecution, unspeakable violence, and, ultimately, martyrdom that defies the comforting narratives many of us have grown up with. Prepare yourself for an eye-opening journey as we expose the hidden truths of their final moments. Each apostle's death is a story of horror and sacrifice that challenges conventional beliefs and forces us to confront the darker side of early Christianity. In the next few minutes, you will learn of brutal executions, fierce conflicts, and the kind of suffering that will forever alter the way you view these legendary figures. This isn't just history, it's a powerful reminder of the price of faith, and what it truly meant to follow Jesus when it cost you everything. Warning: what you're about to hear will change how you see Christianity forever. The apostles emerged during one of the most turbulent periods in history, a time when the region was marked by political domination, religious fervor, and deep-seated social unrest. The first-century Middle East, particularly in the Roman province of Judea, was a land of stark contrasts. On one hand, it was a place of ancient traditions and fervent religious practices, and on the other, a region suffering under the heavy hand of Roman authority. The oppressive rule of a vast empire left local populations yearning for freedom and a sense of identity, setting a dramatic stage for the events that would forever change the course of history. Every day, the people of Judea navigated a society where loyalty to religious traditions clashed with the demands of a politically dominant power. The common man was caught between adhering to long-standing customs and the unavoidable influence of Roman law and order. This collision of values created an environment ripe for revolutionary ideas and profound spiritual awakenings. It was into this charged atmosphere that Jesus and his apostles stepped, offering a message of hope, liberation, and a new understanding of faith. The apostles, coming from various walks of life, from fishermen and tax collectors to political rebels, found themselves in the midst of a world where even the smallest act of defiance could invite severe punishment. The Roman authorities were notorious for their ruthless suppression of any movement perceived as a threat to their power, and religious leaders, too, were engaged in fierce debates and power struggles that could turn deadly. This combination of external oppression and internal discord provided both the motive and the means for the extreme sacrifices these early believers would soon face. Understanding this historical context is essential to grasping the magnitude of what the apostles endured. Their journey was not just one of spiritual enlightenment, but also a relentless battle against forces determined to silence their revolutionary message. The socio-political and religious climate of the time was not merely a backdrop, it was a critical force that shaped the fate of these men, driving them toward a destiny marked by courage, sacrifice, and an enduring legacy that would resonate through the ages. Therefore, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, click the like button and watch this video until the end. Simon Peter, originally known simply as Simon, was a fisherman by trade, a humble occupation that grounded his early life in the coastal communities of Galilee. His journey from an ordinary fisherman to one of the most influential figures in early Christianity is nothing short of extraordinary. When Jesus called him to follow, Simon's life was irrevocably changed. Renamed Peter, meaning rock, he quickly became the central pillar of the group, known for his passionate nature and unwavering commitment. Peter was not only a witness to Jesus' miracles and teachings, but he also played a crucial role in the early days of the Christian movement, emerging as a bold leader who would eventually lay the foundation for what would become one of the world's largest religions. Peter's life was marked by moments of fervor and human vulnerability. His declarations of faith, as well as his moments of doubt, have been recorded in various gospel accounts, highlighting the complexities of a man who was both impulsive and deeply reflective. His role was multifaceted, as a spokesperson for the disciples, a pillar of the early church, and a symbol of redemption for those who had faltered. His transformation from a simple fisherman to a decisive, influential leader underscores the radical nature of his encounter with Jesus and the profound impact that encounter had on his entire community. The end of Peter's earthly journey is as dramatic and powerful as his life had been. According to long-standing Christian tradition, Simon Peter met a martyr's death in Rome, during a period of severe persecution under Emperor Nero. Accounts passed down through generations detail that Peter was sentenced to crucifixion, a method reserved for the most despised criminals, yet with a twist that set his fate apart from all others. Tradition holds that, feeling unworthy to die in the same manner as his Lord, Peter requested to be crucified upside down. This final act was not only a profound expression of humility but also a final testament to his reverence for Jesus and his teachings. While the precise historical details remain the subject of scholarly debate, the imagery of an apostle choosing a death that defied convention has resonated deeply within Christian thought. His crucifixion, marked by its unusual orientation, symbolizes the inversion of worldly expectations and the subversion of conventional power, a motif that would later influence Christian symbolism and iconography. The brutal nature of his execution, the public humiliation, and the palpable sense of injustice that surrounded his death, have all contributed to the enduring mystique and emotional impact of Peter's final moments. Peter's death left an indelible mark on the Christian faith. Often revered as the rock upon which Jesus built his church, Peter's martyrdom underscored the profound cost of discipleship. His willingness to suffer a death that was both excruciating and public served as a powerful example for generations of believers, reinforcing the idea that true faith demands sacrifice. His life and death became central themes in the development of early Christian thought, inspiring countless sermons, writings, and acts of devotion. The legacy of Peter extends far beyond the confines of his death. As the purported first bishop of Rome, his leadership is closely linked to the origins of the papacy and the enduring authority of the Roman Catholic Church. Peter's influence is evident in the way early Christian communities organized themselves, with his teachings and his example serving as guiding principles for matters of faith, governance, and communal solidarity. His story has also spurred art, literature, and even political discourse throughout the centuries, making him not just a religious figure, but a symbol of perseverance, transformation, and unwavering loyalty in the face of overwhelming adversity. Scholars have long examined the life and death of Simon Peter, drawing upon a wide range of historical sources, from canonical gospel accounts to early Christian writings and even external Roman records. While some details of his life are shrouded in legend and have been subject to embellishment over the centuries, the core narrative of Peter's transformative journey in his eventual martyrdom is supported by a convergence of sources that, despite their differences, point to his pivotal role in the nascent Christian movement. Modern interpretations attempt to balance the hagiographical elements of Peter's story with historical critical methods. Researchers compare the gospel narratives with extra-biblical texts and archaeological findings, seeking to separate symbolic representations from verifiable events. The story of his upside-down crucifixion, for example, is debated among historians. While some view it as a literal historical event, others suggest that it may have been an interpretative addition meant to convey deeper theological truths about humility and discipleship. Despite these differences, there is a general consensus that Peter's death was a catalyst for the spread of Christianity, transforming him into a martyr whose life and sacrifice were meant to inspire both personal transformation and communal resilience. Simon Peter's life encapsulates the transformative power of faith. From his beginnings as a simple fisherman to his ultimate sacrifice on the Roman cross, Peter's journey challenges us to reconsider the true nature of loyalty and the cost of discipleship. His story continues to be a source of inspiration and debate, a vivid reminder of how one man's courage in the face of persecution helped shape a movement that would change the world forever. Regarding Andrew, known as the first disciple called by Jesus, began his life much like his brother Peter, as a humble fisherman along the shores of the Sea of Galilee. His journey into the heart of Jesus' ministry was marked by a spirit of eagerness and openness. Tradition recounts that Andrew, upon encountering Jesus, immediately recognized the profound message and purpose behind his words, prompting him to leave behind his old life and invite others, including his own brother, to join in this transformative journey. Often remembered as the fisher of men, Andrew played a crucial role in gathering followers and spreading the teachings of Jesus, acting as a bridge between the common people and the divine message. Throughout his ministry, Andrew was not only a witness to miraculous events but also an active participant in the early formation of the Christian community. His personal commitment to the cause and his natural ability to connect with others made him a vital instrument in the burgeoning movement. Andrew's life reflects a blend of quiet determination and passionate evangelism, a man whose initial encounter with Jesus led him to become a pivotal recruiter of new believers, setting the stage for the growth of a revolutionary faith. Andrew's end, as dramatic as his calling, stands as a testament to his unwavering dedication. According to enduring tradition, Andrew was martyred in the city of Patras in Greece, a fate that would etch his name in the annals of early Christian martyrdom. His death is said to have occurred on an X-shaped cross, a form that has since become one of the most recognizable symbols of his legacy. Unlike the conventional crucifixion, this unique method of execution is believed to reflect his humble acceptance of suffering and his profound commitment to the message of Jesus. The accounts of Andrew's martyrdom emphasize the cruelty of the execution and the intense public spectacle that accompanied it. As he faced death, Andrew is reported to have remained resolute, offering forgiveness to his persecutors and speaking of the salvation he had witnessed firsthand. His final moments were not marked by fear but by an unyielding proclamation of faith, a powerful statement that echoed the sacrifices made by his fellow apostles. The shocking nature of his death lies in both the method and the sheer resolve he displayed in the face of brutal persecution. Andrew's martyrdom left a deep and lasting imprint on the early Christian community. His death, marked by extraordinary sacrifice, became a symbol of the cost of true discipleship. The manner in which he faced his fate, with dignity, humility, and a steadfast belief in the promise of eternal life, served to inspire countless believers and reinforced the message that following Jesus often comes with a steep personal price. Beyond his personal sacrifice, Andrew's role in spreading the gospel extended far beyond the shores of Galilee. His missionary efforts are credited with opening new regions to the Christian message, especially across parts of Greece and the broader Mediterranean. Over the centuries, his legacy has permeated Christian art, literature, and liturgy, with the X-shaped cross becoming an enduring emblem of his martyrdom and of the broader sacrifices made by the early disciples. Andrew's life and death remind us that the journey of faith is as much about enduring hardships as it is about the joy of spiritual awakening. Historians and scholars have pieced together Andrew's story from a mixture of biblical accounts, early church writings, and long-standing traditions passed down through generations. While concrete historical evidence of the exact circumstances surrounding his death is limited, the convergence of multiple sources lends credibility to the narrative of his martyrdom in Patras. Modern interpretations strive to balance the hallowed accounts with critical historical inquiry, acknowledging that some details may have been shaped by the devotional needs of later Christian communities. The depiction of Andrew's execution on an X-shaped cross, for instance, has been the subject of both reverence and scholarly debate. Some researchers see it as a symbolic representation designed to underline the unique nature of his sacrifice, while others propose it may have been a literal method employed by his captors. Regardless of these nuances, there is a general consensus that Andrew's steadfastness in the face of death played a significant role in galvanizing the early church and in shaping the narrative of Christian martyrdom. Andrew's life journey, from his calling as a devoted disciple to his courageous stand in the face of persecution, serves as a powerful narrative of transformation, commitment, and sacrifice. His story continues to resonate as a reminder of the profound personal costs of faith and the enduring impact of those who choose to follow a path of spiritual conviction, even unto death. James, the son of Zebedee, was one of the original disciples called by Jesus, and his story is interwoven throughout the New Testament. Along with his brother John, James was part of Jesus' inner circle, often referred to as the sons of thunder, because of their passionate zeal and fiery temperament in Mark 3 verse 17. Before encountering Jesus, James likely lived a simple life, probably sharing in the common occupation of fishing along the Sea of Galilee, a trade that not only connected him to his community but also to the everyday struggles of his people. His transformation from a humble fisherman into a devoted apostle is detailed in the Gospels, where his commitment to Jesus' message quickly set him apart. James was known for his unwavering loyalty and his readiness to act when called upon by his master. His presence during key moments in Jesus' ministry, witnessing miracles, sharing in the Last Supper, and standing by Jesus during trials, illustrates his integral role in spreading the gospel. His contributions are not just limited to being a witness. He was instrumental in establishing the early church, lending his voice and courage during times of profound challenge and change. Biblical passages such as Matthew 4 verses 21 to 22 and Mark 3 verse 17 underscore the immediacy with which he left behind his former life to follow Jesus, marking him as a figure of relentless commitment. The fate of James, son of Zebedee, is one of the most stark examples of early Christian martyrdom. As recorded in Acts 12 verses 1 to 2, King Herod Agrippa I, seeking to gain favor with the Jewish populace and to curb the growing influence of the Christian movement, ordered James's execution. His death came by the sword, a brutal end that set a precedent among the apostles and signaled the lengths to which the authorities would go to silence the burgeoning faith. Unlike many martyrdoms that unfolded in secrecy, James's death was a public spectacle, a clear message of intimidation aimed at the early followers of Jesus. The biblical account leaves little room for ambiguity about the severity of the punishment inflicted on James. His execution not only marked him as one of the first martyrs of the Christian Church but also served as a catalyst, igniting both fear and, paradoxically, deeper resolve among the believers. The shocking nature of his death is amplified by the context in which it occurred, a time when the Roman and local authorities were increasingly wary of the revolutionary ideas being spread by Jesus and his disciples. The image of an apostle, once a bold and inspiring figure, falling by the sword is a sobering reminder of the high stakes involved in the early spread of Christianity. James's martyrdom had a profound and lasting impact on the Christian community. His death underscored the tangible cost of discipleship and became a powerful symbol of sacrifice for the sake of faith. Early Christians viewed his sacrifice as a divine testimony, a call to remain steadfast in the face of persecution, no matter the personal cost. His story was not just one of loss, but also of inspiration, as it reinforced the belief that true faith often requires the ultimate sacrifice. The passion and courage James exhibited in his final moments have been commemorated in countless sermons, writings, and artistic depictions over the centuries. In addition, James's death played a crucial role in shaping the trajectory of early Christian evangelism. The martyrdom of such a high-profile figure sent shockwaves through both the followers of Jesus and the wider community, galvanizing believers to spread the gospel even more fervently. His legacy is one of unwavering commitment, a beacon for those who would face similar adversities in their spiritual journey. The story of his demise continues to be a rallying cry for courage, resilience, and the unyielding pursuit of truth. Scholars have long scrutinized the life and martyrdom of James, son of Zebedee, drawing on biblical texts, early church traditions, and historical records. The account of his execution in Acts 12 verses 1 to 2 is widely regarded as one of the most reliable early references to the persecution of Christian leaders. Historians note that his death occurred during a period of intensified suppression of the Christian movement under King Herod Agrippa I, who ruled in a complex political landscape where public displays of piety and loyalty were critical to maintaining power. Modern historical analysis seeks to balance the hagiographical elements of James's story with a critical understanding of the socio-political dynamics of the time. While some details, such as the precise circumstances of his execution, remain the subject of debate, the consensus is that his martyrdom played a pivotal role in both the early church's identity and its spread. Researchers compare the biblical narrative with extrabiblical records and archaeological findings to construct a picture of a man whose life was marked by both divine calling and harsh human realities. His death is seen not only as a tragic loss but also as a transformative moment that emboldened the Christian faith in its infancy. James, son of Zebedee, stands as a powerful symbol of fervor, sacrifice, and the high cost of following Jesus. His biography, marked by a swift transition from a common fisherman to a devoted apostle, his shocking and public execution, and his lasting legacy as a martyr, combine to form a narrative that is both compelling and cautionary. His life reminds us of the intense pressures faced by early Christians and the extraordinary resilience that continues to inspire believers around the world. John, often referred to as the beloved disciple, holds a unique position among the apostles. Like his brother James, John was a fisherman by trade along the Sea of Galilee before encountering Jesus. When Jesus called him, John left his nets behind and embarked on a transformative journey that would shape the course of Christian history. He quickly emerged as one of the closest confidants of Jesus, standing by his side during critical moments such as the Transfiguration in Matthew 17 verses 1-8 and the Last Supper in John 13 verse 23. His closeness to Jesus is underscored by the intimacy found in the Gospel of John, which presents a distinctive and reflective account of Jesus' ministry, emphasizing themes of love, truth, and eternal life. John's role extended far beyond that of a witness. He was an active participant in spreading Jesus' teachings, engaging with diverse groups of people, and nurturing the early Christian community. His writings, including the Gospel, 3 epistles, and the apocalyptic book of Revelation, offer deep theological insights that have resonated through the centuries. These texts not only illuminate the nature of Christ and his mission but also provide guidance and comfort to believers facing the hardships of persecution. John's influence in articulating the spiritual and doctrinal foundations of Christianity makes him a pivotal figure whose impact is felt in every corner of the faith. Unlike many of his fellow apostles, John's end is shrouded in both mystery and divergence from the pattern of violent martyrdom. According to early church tradition, John outlived the other apostles and, despite enduring significant persecution, ultimately met his death in a manner that was far less brutal than that of his peers. Tradition holds that he was exiled to the island of Patmos by the Roman authorities, a punishment that, while isolating, allowed him the space to compose one of Christianity's most profound works, the Book of Revelation 1 verse 9. This exile is not portrayed as a swift or violent execution, but rather as a long period of trial, during which John remained a steadfast messenger of hope and divine truth. The contrast between John's fate and the fiery martyrdoms of others adds a dramatic layer to his story. It is said that he survived multiple attempts on his life and suffered considerable hardships, yet he endured to the end. His survival, often interpreted as divine favor, also enabled him to leave behind an enduring legacy through his writings. While his death might lack the immediate shock of a public execution, the quiet dignity of his passing, and the profound spiritual contributions he made during his later years, carries its own powerful testimony to the strength and resilience of faith in the face of relentless adversity. John's legacy in early Christianity is monumental. His writings have been central to the development of Christian theology, offering a counterpoint to the more narrative-driven accounts found in the Synoptic Gospels. The Gospel of John, with its emphasis on the divinity of Christ and the transformative power of love, has inspired countless believers to seek a deeper, more personal relationship with Jesus. His epistles provide practical guidance on living a life of faith and love, while the Book of Revelation has captivated imaginations with its vivid imagery and prophetic vision, influencing not only theology but also art, literature, and culture throughout the ages. The impact of John's life extends to the way Christians understand and interpret the message of Jesus. His unique perspective, as both an eyewitness to miraculous events and a contemplative theologian, offers a rich, multidimensional view of the divine. The themes of hope, redemption, and eternal life that pervade his writings continue to resonate with modern audiences, cementing his role as a spiritual beacon for generations of believers. Moreover, his endurance through persecution and exile serves as a powerful reminder that the struggle for truth and faith often requires quiet resilience and steadfast perseverance. Scholars have long been fascinated by the figure of John, piecing together accounts from biblical texts, early church traditions, and historical records. The authorship of the writings attributed to him, particularly the Gospel and Revelation, has been the subject of extensive scholarly debate. While some argue for a single author, others suggest that these texts represent the collective voice of a community influenced by John's teachings. Despite these debates, there is a consensus that John's contributions were crucial in shaping early Christian identity and theology. Historical analysis also highlights the dramatic contrast between John's relatively peaceful end and the violent deaths of his contemporaries. This divergence has led to various interpretations. Some see it as evidence of divine intervention, while others view it as a reflection of shifting political dynamics during the later stages of the Roman persecution of Christians. Regardless of the interpretation, John's survival allowed him to become a vital link between the apostolic age and the emerging Christian tradition, ensuring that the profound lessons of Jesus' ministry were preserved for future generations. John, the beloved disciple, is a figure whose life and legacy offer a compelling blend of intimate eyewitness testimony and profound theological reflection. His journey, from a humble fisherman to a trusted confidant of Jesus, from an exile on Patmos to a revered author of Scripture, embodies the transformative power of faith. John's story challenges us to appreciate the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring strength of a message that continues to inspire hope and love across the ages. Philip stands out as one of the early disciples called by Jesus, and his journey is marked by a deep commitment to spreading the message of Christ. Introduced in the Gospel of John 1 verses 43 to 45, Philip is depicted as a man who responded immediately to Jesus' invitation, eager to witness firsthand the transformative power of his ministry. While the canonical texts provide only glimpses of his early life, tradition holds that Philip was a man of keen insight and dedication, qualities that made him an effective messenger of the gospel. Philip's role extended beyond that of a mere follower. He is remembered for his direct and thoughtful questions during Jesus' ministry, most notably when he asked, "Lord, show us the Father," John 14 verse 8, demonstrating both a thirst for deeper spiritual understanding and a desire for clarity in matters of divine revelation. His willingness to seek truth and his readiness to share his discoveries helped pave the way for the formation of early Christian communities. Philip's engagement with both Jewish and Gentile audiences underscored his ability to connect with a diverse range of people, making him an essential link in the spread of Jesus' teachings. Philip's end is wrapped in tradition and the echoes of early Christian martyrdom. Although the New Testament does not record the circumstances of his death, long-standing Christian tradition maintains that Philip suffered a brutal martyr's fate. Many accounts place his martyrdom in Hierapolis, in the region of Phrygia, modern-day Turkey, where he is believed to have faced a violent death at the hands of persecutors determined to stamp out the growing Christian movement. Descriptions of his death vary, with some traditions holding that he was crucified and others suggesting he was either stoned or subjected to a particularly harsh execution. The uncertainty surrounding the exact details of his martyrdom only intensifies the dramatic impact of his final moments. What is clear, however, is that Philip's willingness to face a painful death for his faith served as a powerful testimony to the strength of his conviction. His martyrdom, marked by cruelty and the stark reality of early Christian persecution, stands as a poignant reminder of the extreme sacrifices that were demanded of those who chose to follow Jesus during those perilous times. Philip's legacy is woven into the very fabric of early Christianity. His example of fearless inquiry and passionate evangelism helped to establish a foundation for the spread of the gospel across diverse communities. The manner in which he confronted both spiritual and earthly challenges, seeking understanding directly from Jesus and later enduring a brutal death for his beliefs, has made him a model of unwavering faith for generations of Christians. His contributions to the growth of the early church are reflected in the continued remembrance of his teachings and the honor given to his name in various Christian traditions. Philip's boldness in sharing the message of Jesus, even in the face of extreme adversity, encouraged countless believers to stand firm in their convictions. His martyrdom not only cemented his role as a pillar of early Christian history but also symbolized the profound personal cost of discipleship, a theme that has resonated through the ages and continues to inspire those who seek to live a life of faith. Modern scholars and historians have examined Philip's life and martyrdom by sifting through biblical references, early Christian writings, and the traditions passed down through centuries. While the biblical narrative offers limited direct insight into his later years, the convergence of various historical traditions paints a picture of a man who embodied the spirit of his time, a time of fervent religious awakening and brutal persecution. The discrepancies in the accounts of his death, such as whether he was crucified, stoned, or executed by other means, highlight the chaotic environment in which early Christians operated. These variations underscore both the challenges in reconstructing the precise details of early Christian history and the universal recognition of Philip's sacrifice. Despite the debates, there is a consensus among historians that Philip's martyrdom played a significant role in galvanizing early believers and in setting a precedent for the costs associated with the spread of Christianity. Philip's life, from his eager call to follow Jesus to his determined pursuit of spiritual truth, culminating in his tragic martyrdom, serves as a powerful narrative of devotion and sacrifice. His story, rich with questions of faith and the harsh realities of early Christian persecution, invites us to reflect on the profound impact of his legacy on both historical and modern Christian thought. Bartholomew, also known as Nathanael in the Gospel of John 1:45-51, is remembered as a man of sincere and discerning character. When Philip introduced him to Jesus, Nathanael was initially skeptical. His reputation as an honest, upright individual preceded him. However, upon meeting Jesus, his doubts were swiftly replaced by conviction as Jesus revealed his intimate knowledge of Nathanael's character, declaring him an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit. This encounter transformed him, prompting him to become one of Jesus' trusted followers. Throughout the New Testament narratives, Bartholomew is portrayed as a devoted disciple whose unwavering integrity and straightforward nature made him an essential part of Jesus' inner circle. His role was not only that of a witness to the miracles and teachings of Jesus but also as an active participant in the early dissemination of the gospel. His identification with Nathanael highlights a critical aspect of his character, one of authenticity and a search for truth, which resonated deeply with the early Christian community. In the biblical context, his transformation from skepticism to fervent faith illustrates the profound impact of a personal encounter with the divine, a theme that continues to inspire believers. The accounts of Bartholomew's death are shrouded in both tradition and mystery, with various sources offering differing details on the nature of his martyrdom. According to several early Christian traditions, Bartholomew met a gruesome end, a fate that mirrored the brutal reality of early Christian persecution. One widely held tradition asserts that he was executed by being flayed alive, a method that not only underscored the cruelty of his captors but also symbolized the extreme lengths to which the forces opposed to Christianity would go to silence its message. This method of execution, horrifying in its nature, has left a lasting impression in the annals of Christian history. The vivid imagery of a devoted apostle enduring such a painful death serves as a stark reminder of the intense opposition the early church faced. Despite the absence of direct biblical accounts detailing his martyrdom, the consistent thread across various historical traditions is the undeniable message of sacrifice and unyielding faith in the face of unimaginable brutality. Bartholomew's martyrdom has come to symbolize the ultimate sacrifice for faith, a theme that reverberates throughout Christian teachings. His willingness to embrace a fate marked by such extreme suffering exemplifies the cost of discipleship and the profound commitment required to follow Jesus. Over the centuries, his story has been celebrated in Christian art, literature, and liturgy, serving as a powerful testament to the strength of conviction that drives believers to stand firm in their faith despite persecution. Beyond the horror of his execution, Bartholomew's life and death contributed to the early church's narrative of transformation and redemption. His journey from initial skepticism to becoming a devoted apostle highlights the transformative power of encountering Christ. This narrative has encouraged countless believers to view their struggles as part of a larger, divine purpose, reinforcing the message that the true measure of faith is often revealed in moments of trial and sacrifice. Historians and theologians have long examined the traditions surrounding Bartholomew, Nathanael, seeking to reconcile the biblical references with the later accounts of his martyrdom. While the New Testament provides a brief glimpse into his calling and character in the Gospel of John, subsequent traditions fill in the details of his ultimate sacrifice, albeit with varying degrees of specificity. The recurring motif of a brutal and public execution reflects the historical context in which early Christians often faced violent repression under Roman rule and local authorities. Modern scholarship typically regards these traditions as a blend of historical events and symbolic narratives designed to communicate the gravity of martyrdom. The specific method of execution, flaying, has been interpreted both as a literal account and as a powerful metaphor for the suffering endured by those who championed the gospel against overwhelming odds. Despite the differences in detail among various sources, there is broad agreement that Bartholomew's martyrdom played a significant role in galvanizing the early Christian movement, serving as a rallying cry for courage and resilience in the face of persecution. Bartholomew, Nathaniel, stands as a compelling figure in early Christian history. His life, marked by a transformative encounter with Jesus, and his subsequent willingness to endure a horrific death for the sake of his faith, offer a profound narrative of sacrifice and integrity. His story challenges us to reflect on the true cost of discipleship and continues to inspire a legacy of unwavering commitment and the relentless pursuit of truth. Thomas is one of the most intriguing figures among the apostles, best known for his initial skepticism and subsequent profound declaration of faith. Often referred to as Doubting Thomas, due to his reluctance to believe in Jesus' resurrection until he saw the wounds for himself in John 20 verses 24 to 29, Thomas represents the human struggle between doubt and belief. Before encountering Jesus, little is known about his background, but the biblical narrative paints him as a thoughtful and inquisitive disciple who was unafraid to ask difficult questions. His skepticism, rather than diminishing his role, ultimately set the stage for one of the most moving affirmations of faith when he declared, "My Lord and my God," upon seeing the risen Christ. Thomas's role extended well beyond the episode of doubt. Tradition holds that after the resurrection, he became an ardent missionary, traveling to regions far from Judea to spread the gospel. One popular tradition suggests that Thomas journeyed as far as India, where he established Christian communities that have endured for centuries. His willingness to leave the familiar and venture into unknown territories underlines his commitment to the mission of Jesus and his readiness to transform personal doubt into an enduring legacy of faith. The martyrdom of Thomas is as dramatic as his journey from doubt to unwavering belief. According to ancient Christian tradition, Thomas met his end in India, where he was evangelizing among communities that had embraced his message of hope. The accounts describe a violent execution. He is said to have been pierced by a spear while praying, a death that cemented his status as a martyr. This method of execution, both painful and public, stands in stark contrast to the earlier doubts he harbored, illustrating the ultimate price of proclaiming the gospel in a hostile environment. This brutal end not only underscores the perilous nature of early Christian missionary work but also highlights the transformation of Thomas from a skeptic into a fearless proclaimer of Christ's resurrection. His martyrdom, steeped in both legend and historical tradition, has resonated with believers throughout the ages as a powerful testament to the cost of discipleship and the ultimate sacrifice in the name of faith. Thomas's journey from doubt to devout faith continues to inspire countless believers around the world. His story is a reminder that questioning and seeking evidence can lead to deeper understanding and stronger conviction. The transformation he experienced has made him a symbol of hope for those who struggle with uncertainty, encouraging individuals to confront their doubts and emerge with a renewed and steadfast faith. Beyond his personal transformation, Thomas's legacy is strongly associated with the spread of Christianity to regions previously untouched by the gospel. The tradition of his mission in India has left a lasting imprint, with communities there tracing their origins to his evangelistic work. Over the centuries, these communities have maintained rich traditions of faith, and the story of Thomas has become interwoven with the identity of Christianity in that region. His martyrdom serves not only as a reminder of the hardships faced by early Christians but also as an enduring symbol of resilience and the power of faith to overcome adversity. Historians and theologians have examined the life and legacy of Thomas through a variety of sources, ranging from biblical texts to ancient traditions recorded by early church historians. The narrative of his doubt and subsequent confession in the Gospel of John is widely regarded as a pivotal moment in the New Testament, illustrating the interplay between human frailty and divine revelation. This account has been interpreted both as a literal historical event and as a symbolic representation of the journey toward faith. The tradition of Thomas's mission in India is supported by a mix of ecclesiastical writings and local traditions that have been preserved over centuries. While there is some debate over the historical details, such as the exact location and circumstances of his death, the consensus remains that Thomas's efforts contributed significantly to the spread of Christianity beyond its original geographical confines. Modern scholars appreciate that, even if some aspects of his life are shrouded in legend, the core message of his transformation and sacrifice continues to resonate. Thomas embodies the journey from doubt to undeniable faith, a transformation that not only strengthened his own beliefs but also inspired a broader movement of evangelism. His dramatic martyrdom in India, marked by an execution that underscored the brutality faced by early Christians, further solidified his legacy as a fearless missionary and martyr. Thomas's story challenges us to recognize that even in moments of uncertainty, faith can emerge stronger, and it continues to inspire believers to seek truth with courage and conviction. Matthew, also known by his birth name Levi, stands out as one of the most transformative figures among the apostles. Before following Jesus, Matthew worked as a tax collector, a profession that, in the eyes of many of his contemporaries, was associated with greed and betrayal due to the heavy taxes imposed by the Roman authorities. Despite this controversial background, his life took a dramatic turn when Jesus called him to be a disciple. The account of this calling is recorded in the Gospels in Matthew 9 verse 9, where Jesus' invitation not only transformed Matthew's life but also symbolized the possibility of redemption for even those deemed outcasts by society. Once he accepted the call, Matthew embraced his new identity with fervor. He became a vital part of Jesus' inner circle, witnessing firsthand the miracles, teachings, and transformative moments of the ministry. Matthew's unique perspective, transitioning from a life of financial opportunism to one of spiritual dedication, provided him with a deep understanding of both the human condition and the radical message of the gospel. He is best known for authoring the Gospel of Matthew, a text that meticulously records the life, teachings, and resurrection of Jesus. This work has served as a cornerstone for Christian doctrine, weaving together Old Testament prophecies and New Testament fulfillment in a narrative that resonates with believers across generations. Tradition holds that Matthew's end was as dramatic as his conversion and ministry. Although the New Testament does not record the details of his death, early Christian writings and long-held traditions speak of his martyrdom as a direct consequence of his unwavering commitment to spreading Jesus' teachings. Various accounts suggest that Matthew was martyred for his faith, facing a brutal and violent death that underscored the perils of proclaiming the gospel in an environment rife with religious and political hostility. One of the traditions recounts that Matthew met his end in Ethiopia or Persia, where he was either stabbed or beheaded by those who opposed the growing influence of Christianity. This method of execution, marked by its savagery, reflects the intense opposition early Christians faced and the ultimate price of discipleship. His death, shrouded in both legend and historical uncertainty, remains a potent symbol of the cost of faith, where a former tax collector's radical transformation leads him to sacrifice his life in service of a divine calling. Matthew's legacy is indelibly etched in the foundation of Christian tradition. His gospel not only serves as a detailed account of Jesus' life and teachings but also as a bridge between the Old and New Testaments, drawing deep connections between Jewish prophecy and the fulfillment of those prophecies in Christ. Through his writings, Matthew has provided generations of believers with profound insights into the nature of Jesus' mission and the transformative power of redemption. The narrative of Matthew's life, from his days as a tax collector ostracized by society to his ultimate sacrifice for the faith, has resonated with countless individuals who see in his story a message of hope and renewal. His example demonstrates that no past is too tarnished to be redeemed by the transformative power of divine grace. Moreover, his martyrdom, emblematic of the sacrifices made by early Christians, continues to inspire a sense of resilience and courage in the face of persecution. Matthew's contributions have played a crucial role in shaping Christian thought, liturgy, and community identity, reinforcing the enduring message that faith can triumph over even the most challenging circumstances. Scholars have long examined the figure of Matthew by analyzing biblical texts, early church traditions, and historical records. The Gospel of Matthew is widely regarded as a vital source for understanding not only the life of Jesus but also the early spread of Christianity. Historians note that Matthew's transformation from a tax collector to a devoted apostle reflects the radical inclusivity of Jesus' ministry, a theme that resonated powerfully in a society marked by strict social divisions. While concrete details of Matthew's martyrdom are sparse and often interwoven with legendary embellishments, there is a consensus among historians that his death was part of the broader pattern of early Christian martyrdom. Various traditions, though differing in specifics, concur on the fact that his commitment to the gospel ultimately led to a violent end. Modern scholars balance these hagiographical accounts with critical analysis, recognizing that the symbolic power of Matthew's narrative lies in its emphasis on redemption, sacrifice, and the transformative impact of faith. Matthew, Levi, embodies the profound transformation that lies at the heart of the Christian message. His journey from a despised tax collector to a pioneering apostle and gospel writer is a testament to the redemptive power of divine grace. His shocking martyrdom, though veiled in the uncertainties of early tradition, serves as a stark reminder of the ultimate sacrifice made by those who dared to follow Jesus. Matthew's enduring legacy continues to inspire believers worldwide, affirming that every life, no matter how flawed its beginnings, can be reshaped into a story of hope, commitment, and eternal impact. James, often referred to as James the Less to distinguish him from other apostles of the same name, is one of the more enigmatic figures in the New Testament. Little is recorded about his early life, leaving us with only glimpses of his character and calling. What we do know is that he answered the call to follow Jesus, joining the group of 12 and playing a steady role in the nascent Christian community. Though the Gospels offer few details about his personal background, his inclusion among the apostles indicates that he was a man of considerable faith and commitment. Tradition holds that James, son of Alphaeus, was a devoted disciple who contributed to the spread of Jesus' teachings through his quiet presence and steadfast loyalty. His role, while not marked by the dramatic episodes that characterize some of his fellow apostles, was essential in establishing the foundation of the early church. His participation in key moments, such as witnessing the ministry of Jesus, the Last Supper, and the events following the resurrection, served as a living testament to the transformative power of the gospel. James' commitment to following Jesus, even in the face of limited recognition, exemplifies the humble but profound impact of consistent faith. While the New Testament does not provide a detailed account of his death, long-standing Christian tradition asserts that James, like many of his contemporaries, ultimately paid the ultimate price for his faith. Various historical accounts and early church writings suggest that James met a violent end as part of the broader wave of persecution that swept through the early Christian community. Although the specifics remain less documented than those of other apostles, the consensus is that his death was marked by brutal methods intended to serve as a warning to others. The narrative of his martyrdom, though shrouded in relative obscurity, carries with it the same themes of sacrifice and unwavering commitment seen in the deaths of his fellow disciples. The silence in the historical record regarding the exact circumstances of his execution only underscores the broader reality of the dangers faced by early Christians. His martyrdom, even if less elaborately described, contributes to the legacy of countless believers who suffered in silence, reinforcing the stark reality that spreading the message of Jesus often came with a high cost. James, son of Alphaeus, legacy is woven into the fabric of early Christianity through the very act of his steadfast discipleship. Though his name may not be as prominently featured in the gospel narratives as others, his life and death resonated with the early Christian community. His commitment to following Jesus, despite the relative anonymity of his personal story, served as a powerful example of humble, resolute faith. The quiet strength he embodied has been a source of inspiration for believers who understand that profound impact does not always come with grand gestures, but often through unwavering loyalty in the face of adversity. His martyrdom, representing the silent sufferings of many early disciples, has come to symbolize the ultimate sacrifice that the faithful were willing to make. This collective memory of martyrdom helped galvanize the early church, fueling its growth and deepening its commitment to the message of Christ. James' example reinforces the understanding that the cost of discipleship is not measured solely by dramatic acts of heroism but by the everyday courage of remaining true to one's beliefs even when recognition is minimal. Scholars and historians acknowledge that James, son of Alphaeus, remains one of the less documented apostles, with the historical records offering sparse details about his life and death. The limited information available is derived largely from the New Testament and later Christian tradition, which often grouped his story with those of other lesser-known figures within the 12. Despite the scarcity of detailed accounts, historians agree that his inclusion among the apostles is significant. It suggests that even those who did not play a leading role in the recorded miracles and speeches of Jesus were crucial to the formation and endurance of early Christianity. Modern interpretations of his life tend to focus on the symbolism of his quiet endurance and steadfastness. His martyrdom, although not as vividly chronicled as the deaths of some of his counterparts, is seen as a reflection of the broader experience of early Christians who faced systematic persecution. Scholars analyze the available texts and traditions to construct a picture of a man whose unassuming nature did not diminish the depth of his faith. Instead, his life challenges modern believers to find strength in humility and to recognize that the impact of steadfast faith often lies in the quiet persistence that sustains a community through its darkest times. James, son of Alphaeus, represents the silent, steadfast side of discipleship. His story, though less elaborated in the biblical texts, underscores the essential truth that unwavering commitment and humble service are as vital to the legacy of Christianity as the more celebrated acts of faith. His life and martyrdom remind us that every believer, regardless of how loudly their name is remembered, plays a critical role in the enduring narrative of faith, sacrifice, and hope. Thaddeus, also known as Judas, son of James, and sometimes identified as Lebbaeus, is one of the more enigmatic figures among the apostles. Though he may not be featured prominently in many of the gospel narratives, his presence among the 12 underscores his importance as a dedicated follower of Jesus. Little is recorded about his early life in the scriptures, leaving us with only brief mentions that attest to his commitment. Despite the limited details, tradition portrays Thaddeus as a man of quiet resolve and steadfast faith, whose loyalty to Jesus was unwavering even when he did not receive the same level of attention as some of his peers. Called by Jesus to join the inner circle, Thaddeus embraced the message of the gospel and became part of a movement that would soon change the world. His inclusion in the lists of the apostles, as found in the New Testament in Matthew 10 verse 3 and Mark 3 verse 18, signals that his contributions, though less documented, were vital to the early Christian community. Known by multiple names, this apostle has been remembered in diverse traditions, each highlighting his role as one who not only witnessed the ministry of Jesus but also helped spread his teachings. His life exemplifies the idea that every disciple, regardless of the extent of their recorded exploits, played a crucial part in laying the foundations of what would become a global faith. The martyrdom of Thaddeus is as shrouded in mystery as the details of his life. Early Christian traditions and various historical accounts offer differing versions of how he met his end, yet they all converge on the undeniable fact that his death was both brutal and emblematic of the persecution faced by the early followers of Jesus. One tradition holds that he suffered martyrdom in Persia, while others suggest that his journey of faith led him to regions in Syria. In these accounts, Thaddeus is said to have endured a violent execution, whether by being beaten, stoned, or otherwise cruelly dispatched by those threatened by the burgeoning Christian movement. What makes his death particularly striking is the common thread of sacrifice that runs through the stories of the apostles. Even though the details of his execution differ among sources, the underlying message remains the same: Thaddeus gave his life for the cause of spreading the gospel. This grim fate not only exemplifies the harsh realities of early Christian persecution but also serves as a stark reminder of the cost of discipleship. His willingness to face such cruelty, rather than recant his faith, reinforces the narrative of steadfast loyalty that defined the lives of Jesus' closest followers. The legacy of Thaddeus, Judas, son of James, endures as a testament to the power of quiet yet resolute faith. While he may not have the extensive writings or dramatic gospel moments attributed to other apostles, his story resonates as part of the collective sacrifice that enabled the early church to flourish. His martyrdom, though shrouded in uncertainty, has been commemorated in various traditions as a powerful example of the courage required to uphold the teachings of Jesus in the face of overwhelming opposition. For many believers, Thaddeus symbolizes the strength found in steadfast commitment, a reminder that every act of faith, no matter how seemingly modest, contributes to the broader narrative of redemption and hope. His life encourages modern Christians to value quiet determination and the willingness to stand firm in belief, even when historical records leave many details to tradition and interpretation. The honor bestowed upon him by various Christian communities over the centuries attests to the enduring impact of his sacrifice and his role in nurturing the early seeds of the Christian faith. From a scholarly perspective, the figure of Thaddeus presents a fascinating study in how tradition and textual scarcity intertwine. The multiple names attributed to him, Thaddeus, Judas, son of James, and sometimes Lebbeus, have led to considerable discussion among historians trying to piece together a coherent narrative from limited sources. While the canonical Gospels provide only brief mentions, later writings and traditions offer additional insights, albeit with variations in detail. Historians acknowledge that the ambiguity surrounding his life and death is not unusual among many of the early disciples. The common theme of martyrdom among the apostles, despite the differences in recorded events, highlights the intense pressures and brutal conditions under which the early Christian community operated. Modern analyses tend to view Thaddeus as a representative figure of the many faithful who suffered in silence, reminding us that the early church was built not only by the celebrated acts of a few but also by the steadfast courage of those whose stories remain partially told. Thaddeus, Judas, son of James, may not command the same spotlight as some of his counterparts, but his life and martyrdom are integral to the tapestry of early Christian history. His quiet resolve, the mystery surrounding his execution, and his lasting legacy of sacrifice all contribute to a narrative that speaks to the enduring power of faith. His story, though partly veiled by time, continues to inspire believers to embrace a life of unwavering commitment, even when the details of that journey remain hidden in the shadows of history. Simon the Zealot is one of the more intriguing figures among the apostles, recognized not only for his dedication to following Jesus but also for his background as a member of the Zealots, a group known for its passionate resistance against Roman rule. Although the biblical texts offer limited details about his early life, his identification as the Zealot suggests that Simon was once part of a movement that sought to liberate the Jewish people from foreign oppression. This revolutionary spirit, however, took on a radically different form when he answered Jesus' call, trading militant fervor for a commitment to spreading the message of love, forgiveness, and salvation. Simon's transformation is emblematic of the broader narrative of redemption that defines the Christian story. His inclusion among the 12 apostles highlights the powerful change that the gospel was capable of inspiring, even in those who once harbored intense nationalistic and anti-establishment sentiments. Throughout his time with Jesus, Simon demonstrated a quiet yet steadfast loyalty, contributing to the early Christian movement by supporting the ministry and enduring the same challenges as his fellow disciples. His shift from a potential revolutionary to a disciple of peace and faith remains a potent example of personal transformation and spiritual awakening. The accounts of Simon the Zealot's death are shrouded in historical tradition and vary widely among different sources. While the New Testament does not record the details of his martyrdom, early Christian writings and long-standing traditions suggest that Simon met a violent end, reflective of the turbulent environment in which early Christians lived. Some traditions hold that he was martyred in Persia, while others place his death in a different region where the growing influence of Christianity was met with harsh resistance. The violent nature of his execution underscores the significant risks faced by early believers. Despite his past as a fervent anti-Roman zealot, Simon embraced a path that led him into direct confrontation with powerful political and religious forces. His martyrdom, though enveloped in a degree of historical uncertainty, is consistently portrayed as a brutal reminder of the high cost of spreading the gospel in a world marked by political intrigue and religious conflict. The details of his death, though varied, converge on the theme of sacrifice, marking him as a steadfast witness to the transformative power of faith even unto death. Simon the Zealot's legacy is one of profound personal transformation and unyielding commitment to his newfound faith. His journey from a man associated with fervent nationalism and militant activism to an apostle who embraced a message of peace has inspired countless believers to believe in the possibility of change. Simon's life serves as a compelling reminder that even the most passionate and potentially divisive forces can be redirected toward a higher, unifying purpose. In early Christian communities, Simon's story was celebrated as a powerful example of how the call of Jesus transcends past identities and ideological boundaries. His martyrdom, representing the ultimate sacrifice for the sake of his faith, reinforced the notion that following Jesus often required leaving behind former allegiances and enduring great hardship. Simon's transformation and subsequent martyrdom continue to inspire modern believers, urging them to consider the deeper dimensions of faith, commitment, and the redemptive possibilities inherent in every life. Historians and theologians have sought to piece together the life of Simon the Zealot from the limited biblical mentions and a range of later traditions. Although concrete details about his early life and death remain elusive, his designation as the Zealot provides valuable insight into the diverse backgrounds of Jesus' disciples. Scholars view his transition from a likely member of a militant group to a dedicated apostle as emblematic of the broader transformative impact of Jesus' teachings, a transformation that could redefine even the most radical of identities. The variations in accounts of his martyrdom are reflective of the challenges inherent in reconstructing early Christian history, where oral traditions and regional legends often merge. Despite these discrepancies, the consistent message is one of sacrifice and the relentless pursuit of a cause greater than oneself. Modern analyses generally agree that Simon's life and death illustrate the intense pressures of the time, marked by political oppression and religious strife, which demanded extraordinary courage from those who dared to follow Jesus. Simon the Zealot stands as a powerful symbol of transformation and steadfast faith. His journey from a background of revolutionary zeal to becoming a devoted apostle, and ultimately a martyr, offers a narrative of redemption that continues to resonate. Simon's life challenges us to recognize that true change is possible, and his legacy endures as a testament to the enduring power of faith in the face of overwhelming adversity. Judas Iscariot is one of the most controversial and enigmatic figures in the New Testament. As one of the 12 apostles chosen by Jesus, Judas played an integral role in the early spread of the gospel, yet his legacy is forever marked by his infamous betrayal. The Gospels recount that Judas was entrusted with the group's finances, a role that suggests a degree of trust and responsibility. Despite his proximity to Jesus and participation in key events, such as the Last Supper as seen in Matthew 26 verses 20-25 and John 13 verses 21-30, Judas's motivations gradually became a subject of intense scrutiny and debate. From early on, Judas appears as a complex figure. While some texts hint at potential disillusionment or even greed, others suggest that his actions might have been part of a larger, mysterious plan. His decision to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver has been interpreted in many ways, as an act of personal weakness, political discontent, or even as a fulfillment of scriptural prophecy. Regardless of the underlying reasons, Judas's role as the betrayer transformed him from a trusted disciple into a symbol of treachery and moral failure, a transformation that has echoed through centuries of Christian thought. The death of Judas Iscariot is as dramatic and controversial as his betrayal. The New Testament presents conflicting accounts of his end, each carrying its own weight of symbolic significance. In one account, found in Matthew 27 verse 3-10, Judas, stricken with remorse after seeing the consequences of his actions, returns the silver and subsequently hangs himself. This narrative highlights the overwhelming guilt that consumed him, a guilt so profound that he could not live with the burden of his betrayal. Another account in Acts 1 verse 18 offers a different perspective. It describes Judas acquiring a field with the reward of his wickedness, only to fall headlong in a manner that caused his body to burst open. These divergent accounts have fueled centuries of debate among theologians and historians, with some scholars suggesting that they may reflect different oral traditions or symbolic interpretations rather than literal historical events. What remains indisputable is that Judas's death was both tragic and gruesome, a fitting, if horrifying, conclusion to a life marked by one of the most significant acts of betrayal in human history. His demise serves as a potent reminder of the destructive power of guilt, regret, and moral compromise. Judas Iscariot's legacy is profoundly ambivalent. On one hand, he is remembered as the betrayer, the apostle who, through a single act, set in motion the events leading to Jesus' crucifixion. This betrayal has cast a long shadow over his name, making it synonymous with treachery and disloyalty in the cultural and religious imagination. In many Christian traditions, Judas is invoked as a cautionary example of the peril of allowing greed, ambition, or despair to override one's moral compass. On the other hand, Judas's story has also prompted deep theological reflection. Some scholars and mystics have pondered whether his actions, in a perverse twist of fate, were necessary for the fulfillment of a divine plan. This line of thought raises complex questions about free will, predestination, and the nature of evil, questions that continue to challenge believers and theologians alike. His story forces a confrontation with the darker aspects of human nature and the consequences of betrayal, serving as a sobering counterpoint to the themes of forgiveness and redemption that are central to Christianity. Despite his notorious legacy, Judas remains the subject of intense study and debate. His life and death are pivotal in understanding the dynamics of early Christian theology and the human condition, encapsulating the tragic interplay between divine purpose and human fallibility. Historians and theologians have long grappled with the figure of Judas Iscariot, examining biblical texts, early church writings, and historical context to piece together a coherent narrative of his life. The sparse and often contradictory details in the New Testament make it challenging to separate historical fact from theological symbolism. For example, while the betrayal and its consequences are well documented in the Gospels, the motivations behind Judas's actions remain open to interpretation. Some scholars argue that Judas's behavior might have been influenced by disillusionment with the direction of Jesus' ministry or by personal ambitions that clashed with the revolutionary message of the Gospel. The divergent accounts of his death have also spurred extensive scholarly discussion. The contrast between the account of his hanging in Matthew and the more violent demise described in Acts has led some researchers to suggest that these narratives may have been shaped by different theological agendas or cultural contexts. Despite these variations, there is a general consensus that Judas's story serves as a powerful narrative device, one that encapsulates themes of betrayal, remorse, and the profound consequences of moral failure. Modern interpretations often view Judas as a tragic figure whose life ended in disgrace and torment, yet whose actions, however condemnable, played a critical role in the unfolding of Christian salvation history. His story is a reminder that the path of discipleship is fraught with human imperfections, and that even those closest to the divine can falter in the face of overwhelming temptation. Judas Iscariot is a multifaceted figure whose life and death continue to evoke strong emotions and provoke critical inquiry. His betrayal of Jesus and the subsequent shocking accounts of his demise not only underscore the severe consequences of moral transgression but also invite a deeper exploration of themes such as guilt, redemption, and the complexities of free will. Judas's enduring legacy, steeped in both infamy and mystery, challenges us to confront the darker dimensions of the human soul while also reflecting on the possibility of forgiveness and transformation in even the most tragic of stories. As we've journeyed through the lives and brutal ends of the 12 apostles, we've uncovered a narrative that challenges the sanitized versions of history many of us grew up with. The raw, often shocking truths of their martyrdom reveal not just acts of extreme cruelty, but also profound moments of faith and sacrifice. Each apostle's fate, from Peter's upside-down crucifixion to Judas's tragic descent into guilt and despair, paints a picture of a time when belief was not merely a matter of faith, but a battle against an unyielding world. These stories compel us to reconsider what we think we know about the origins of Christianity. They invite us to look beyond the familiar images and explore the gritty realities of early discipleship, a path defined by both courage and suffering. In a world where the message of hope and redemption is often overshadowed by sanitized retellings, the apostles' brutal ends serve as a sobering reminder of the true cost of conviction and the extraordinary lengths to which these men went for their beliefs. Take a moment to reflect on how these revelations might reshape your understanding of the early church. Are these raw historical truths merely relics of a violent past, or do they carry a message that resonates with the struggles and triumphs of faith today? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspectives are an essential part of this ongoing conversation about history, belief, and the transformative power of sacrifice. If this exploration has stirred your curiosity and challenged your preconceptions, consider subscribing to our channel. By joining our community, you'll gain access to more in-depth historical explorations that peel back the layers of time to reveal the profound truths hidden beneath conventional narratives. Together, let's continue to uncover the remarkable stories that shaped our world, one apostolic revelation at a time. And don't forget to check out my book, The 12 Apostles of Jesus, Their Story, Mission, and Enduring Impact, a simple guide, available on Amazon. It's a deeper look into the incredible journeys of these men, an essential companion to this video that brings you even closer to the untold truths of their lives and legacies. Check the link on the description below. Your purchase not only enriches your understanding but also supports more content like this, as we continue to uncover the remarkable stories that have shaped our world. God bless you.